Hey, what's good to the people? This is the social forecast. Salute to all my subscribers. Special shout out to everybody else passing through. Um, I came through today to talk to my fellas, particularly my younger fellas who, are thinking about getting married, maybe planning, a wedding right now, or just anybody who's in a situation where they're considering committing in their current relationship and taking it to the next level. I want to speak to my fellas real quick in those situations. Lately, actually for a little while now, I've been following uh, this whole MGTOW movement that's been going on. A lot of videos out on YouTube right now. There's actually a dude who I follow. I'm subscribed to his channel. I watch a lot of his videos. Soul Immortal. Salute to you and what you do. Definitely a positive message. It's definitely a message that I definitely can get behind and rock with. Although I don't subscribe to the entire MGTOW movement mindset, this whole red pill, blue pill, scenario. But a lot of what this person particularly, because some of the dudes on this MGTOW thing, they're extreme. But this individual, I definitely take the time to uh, listen to his message and check in on his videos and see what he's talking about. And while I don't necessarily subscribe to the mindset, a lot of what is talked about, I can get behind, I can rock with, and I can see it, myself. And I'm the type of person who, and I've talked about this type of thing on this channel before. Often I will self-reflect, and you know, I'll process situations that I experience. And I've been doing this for my entire adult life and even going back into my adolescence. I've always been a forward thinker. I've always been a deep thinker. I've always been an independent thinker. And my approach to relationships isn't necessarily men against women. Like some of these extreme MGTOW dudes who, I don't really remember any of their names or their channels because I just come across some of their stuff sometime because I'm subscribed to Soul Immortal's channel. He's more on the positive tip. Some of these dudes are very extreme. Although I may agree with some of their points, a lot of their views are like just so far out there. But my approach is different. When I speak on this platform about these relationship types of situations, my approach is always, I don't care who you are, male or female. I don't care what your sexual orientation is. I don't care if you're heterosexual. I don't care if you're homosexual. I don't care if you're bisexual. I don't care if you're transgender. I don't care what you identify as. My approach is always whomever you choose to get into a situation with, whoever you choose to embark on a lifelong journey with, uh, just make sure that it works for the both of you. Make sure that you find somebody who is of the same cloth, who has equal mindset, to a certain extent, and somebody who's going to push you, and somebody who you're willing to push yourself to be better. In order to do that, you got to match up with somebody who's willing to be better as a result of you pushing them, and you have to be willing to be better as a result of them pushing you. And you have to find someone who's willing and who's capable mentally and emotionally and spiritually to do that. And not a lot of people mesh well together in that way. But I can only truly speak on my situation as it pertains to my life and my lifestyle and the type of situations that I come across from my personal experiences as a black man in America, as a heterosexual black man in America, as a married black man with a family and children in America. And so I'm more specifically in this video speaking to my fellas who are in that situation. And you don't even necessarily have to be a black man, any man in general. Um, I just more so speak to, you know, the men who look like me, come from the same places that I do, speak this a similar way that I do, and are subjected to the same types of scenarios and situations on a daily basis. Because those are the ones who will most closely and more often relate to what I'm talking about, and more specifically, the style in which I use to articulate those things. Right. So, so excuse me. Um, and I learned this later on, and that's why I always say it's too late for me, right? At 35, with children that I'm focused on raising, and a self-publishing writing career as an author that I'm focused on getting off the ground, and a YouTube channel and a podcast and so many things that I'm trying to do on my personal journey. I make reference to it being too late for me as far as relationships go, because it's so late in the game for me, to start over would just be too much on my plate right now for what I need. But that to the side, um, if I had somebody, right, to speak to my younger self, if I could meet myself at 35 when I was 21, I could have completely changed the course of my life over the course of the past uh, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years. Um, but because you can't do that, because this life is not designed that way, the universe is not designed that way, the best that you can do is to speak back to the generation under you, so that hopefully, they don't have to make the same mistakes, go through some of the same pitfalls that you did. And that's one of the main reasons for why this channel is here. And this is not a woman bashing thing. This is not against females. It's not against the fair sex. It's not about, men being right or being victimized or being, it's not about any of that, because I'm just speaking to my fellas about a certain population of women who fit the category of what I am about to talk about. And if you are a woman who don't fit this category, you have nothing to worry about. If you're a woman who don't fit into what I'm talking about, this is not about a stereotype. This is about my independent personal experiences and me trying to save any young brother who may be watching this video from having to go through the same thing that I went through. Because once you have kids with someone, once you marry someone, start that family, you're tethered to that for a lifetime. You know what I'm saying? If you're interested in being a good father, if you're interested in being that role model that your kids need for you to be, then you're tethered to that person for as long as you are alive. And for these women that I'm going to mention, these types of women, this one specific type of women who I think is just about the worst, definitely in the top 2 or 3 type of woman that you could deal with. Please try to avoid, if it's not too late for you, please try to avoid this type of woman at all costs, because she will drain the life out of you. And even to the point where you're in jeopardy as a man, especially a Black or Hispanic man. You can put yourself in jeopardy to have domestic issues, domestic violence issues. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're violent, but this same type of woman that I'm going to talk about is the same type of woman who put, men like me trying to do the right thing, not that it's happened to me, but men like me in situations that has happened to me, where you could be having to explain yourself to the authorities for something that you had nothing to do with, and something that you didn't even cause. And this happens, you know what I'm saying? And that's more so what I'm speaking to. If you're dealing with a woman who starts situations with you, and just because you're interested in making the relationship better, just because you're about trying to make the relationship work, just because you on some level have the vision for where that relationship should go, because agree or disagree, even in this feminist movement, this Me Too movement, right? Even in this woman's empowerment movement, uh, the man is the one who should be responsible for setting the tone for the relationship. Because if you ask any good woman, any woman with a head on her shoulders, who is smart, who has vision, who knows where she wants to go in life, and knows the importance of her having that. And again, I'm just speaking to the heterosexual community, because I live a lifestyle of the traditional man and woman, woman and man. I'm not denigrating or talking down on the LGBTQ community. I'm only speaking to, in this video, the people that I relate to as far as the relationship lifestyle that I live. So that's what I'm speaking to. Any good heterosexual woman who's seeking to have a man in her life, a husband, a father for her children, understands that, one, the women set the tone for the home, right? For the household. The man is supposed to set the tone for the relationship. Because if you ask any good woman, any thinking woman, she wants to be with a man who has something to teach her. And that's all that I mean by that. So don't hit me with the, what you talking about, this, you just chauvinistic. Nah. Ask any good woman one of the qualities that she looks for in a man. And if she's a good woman, she will tell you, I'm looking for a man I can learn something from. I'm looking for a man who can in some ways lead me. And that doesn't mean be an overseer. That doesn't mean, in a disrespectful kind of way. But y'all women who are good women who hear this will know what I'm talking about. And so having said that, that means that's calling on us men to be responsible enough, to be forward thinking enough, to be loyal enough, to be dedicated enough and committed enough to be able to lead those women and teach those women things through our experiences. Part of the reason why women date, for the most part, men who are older, whether slightly older or years older, it's because that's one of the things that women look for at the core of what they look for in relationships. Those women who know enough to seek that out look for a man they can learn something from, because there's supposed to be some guidance there. And if you're one of those types of men and you find yourself with a woman who's not willing to see that guidance and appreciate it for what it is, if you're not with a woman who's willing to be respectful in return, be loyal in return, be committed in return, make those sacrifices with you, run away from that woman. Avoid at all costs that woman, please, because you will be in for a life that is miserable to you. No matter how much you try to make it work, no matter how good of a father you try to be, no matter how good of a role model you try to be, no matter how much you try to pursue things in your personal path to better your personal life, it will be extremely hard to do it, because your spirit will be too heavy from dealing with the frustration that this type of woman, the type of woman who will do shit, and immediately after you call that woman out on doing it, because you should be able to do that. I should be able to call you out if I feel like you're not doing things that are conducive to this relationship being better. And if I feel like you're doing some dumb small shit, if I can't call you out on it without you lying about it, denying it, becoming defensive, throwing a temper tantrum, and even the smallest shit, the more mature, the wiser me at 35, if I could go back to 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 even, with the wisdom that I have now from those experiences, I would run the fuck in the other direction. The only good thing I would say, because I'm real on this channel, I'm 100% transparent on this channel. The only reason why I wouldn't change the situation that I now find myself in, that I'm trying to save my young brothers from this same situation, my young fellas from this same situation, is because to go back and change too much, then I wouldn't have my children. And of course, I never regret my children. And that's why I say it's too late for me, because I'm committed to my children, me being a black man in America, raising young black children. I'm committed to making sure that they don't have to grow up in a single parent household. I'm committed to making sure that they're not a statistic, that they don't have to be traded back and forth between their mother and their father and not know what's going on and have to worry about that, when at their age, all they should be having to worry about is focusing on school and focusing on growing into the people that they should have the opportunity to grow into. So that's when I say it's too late for me. Those are the things that I'm talking about, because these are decisions that I made for myself based on the stereotypes that are out here for too many of us young black men and women. And that's a bed that I made, and that's a bed that I've chosen to lie in. But if you're not in that situation yet, run in the other direction, because this is the type of woman who will lie to your face immediately after doing something that even you were there to witness being done. That's a woman that you can't build with. That's a woman that you can't compromise with. That's a woman that you can't lead, you can't guide, because something else is going on there. Granted, on this channel, and I don't shy away from the things that I've said in my past videos and my past content, I am known on this channel for saying things like, all behavior is learned, because it is. And it's not to say that These women that I'm talking about that fit into this type, it's not to say that they're not conditioned by different things in their past experiences. We are all 100% conditioned based on past things that have happened to us. 100%. Some things you just can't escape, and it just is what it is. You will never be able to escape those things. However, it does not mean that you should have to subject yourself to that, because the bigger picture, if you're a forward thinking man with a vision of a bigger picture, and you're trying to put your energy into going somewhere, into making a difference, not just in your life but for the lives of your kids for when you're gone, you can't build that story, you can build that dream with that type of woman, because she will break you down every step of the way. She will break you down, and every time you slip up, like we all will, not just because it's men, because we're human. If you don't pay this type of woman enough attention, if you don't tell this type of woman she's pretty every day, if you're not up this type of woman's ass 24/7, that will be this type of woman's excuse to cheat, be disrespectful, be disloyal, step out of the relationship, step out of the marriage, and she won't care about the fact that you're married, that you have kids, that you're a good man, that you do the things that a lot of men out here just are not doing, because this type of woman is only programmed to really think about herself, and she's always going to be the victim. And it becomes frustrating, because this type of woman, whether it's conscious or subconscious, whether there's mental issues going on, whether she can't help herself, or whether she does it on purpose because, yeah, black men just aren't respected in relationships and in marriage unfortunately, by a lot of our black women. It's unfortunate that I have to say that, but I did a whole video, y'all can go back and check it out, where I talked about the whole dynamic between black men who seek relationships outside of the black community, and the fact that the men that I've surveyed and spoken to feel that it's because, in large part, they don't get the same respect from their black women that white men get. But we're not going to speak on that. Go back and watch that video if y'all want. We could talk about that on another level, on another day, in another video. But if this type of woman who does not respect you, whatever the reason, she will never respect you. And unfortunately, because you're a good man, you will try to make the relationship work. I'm forecasting, right? This is the social forecast channel. I'm forecasting right now your situation because I've lived through it, right? I did that, so hopefully you won't have to go through that. And salute to Hove. And this woman will break you down. And when you finally reach that breaking point where you either start to become less attentive, you start to become less willing to make the relationship work, you start to become more disrespectful, because there's just no other option for you to take, because it's just you become so frustrated at a certain point. So you stop choosing your words as carefully, and all these different things. That's going to be this type of woman's excuse to go do whatever it is she wants to do, and then blame you for it. Avoid this type of woman. And there are things that you can look for my young fellas who might be having that intuition that this type of woman, that you're already with this type of woman and she's not right. If it's still early enough, get the fuck out of that situation. And there's certain things you can pay attention to. This is the kind of woman who, if you follow my relationship advice, right, if you follow this channel, there's certain conversations, certain important conversations, discussions that you should be having with any partner that you get involved with in the earlier stages of your relationship. This type of woman, more than likely, will not be willing to have these types of open discussions. You will ask this woman things about her life, things about her vision for the relationship, things about hypothetical situations. This type of woman, if you want to try and point out if you're with this type of woman, might answer things like, oh, I don't know, or I can't see the future. Or, first of all, don't deal with a woman who doesn't have a vision. I don't care what age they are. Any good woman, any good young woman has a vision for where she wants to go, has a vision for what she sees for herself as far as a relationship, a family, a marriage. And if they don't and just don't know, then that's just not the person for you. If you are in a position where you at least understand that it's important to talk about it. You may not be at a place in your life where you have a vision yet for what exactly your future is going to look like, whether it be you see yourself getting married or having a family or whatever, but you at least know the importance of starting to think about and talk about those types of things. And if you're dealing with the type of woman that I'm talking about, she won't even be able to have that kind of conversation because the mental capacity is just not there to do that. Especially if you're a few years older. If you're a few years older, that woman should at least be on your level if we subscribe to the belief that women mature faster than men. If you're 2, 3, 4 years older than the woman that you're dealing with and she's not on your level, run from that woman because she will never catch up. Unfortunately, some people do, but this specific type of woman that exhibits these particular characteristics, 5 years later, 10 years later, you're going to be kicking yourself saying, yo, when I saw these signs 10 years ago, why the fuck didn't I run the other way? It's unfortunate because you want to give people a chance. It's unfortunate because the good men out there want to try and be that leader, want to try and be that guidance, want to try and teach that woman, like men are responsible for doing those things. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what we are here for. One of the reasons why we are here. It's not just to be monetary providers. There's a whole lot more that comes with that whole, scenario of being what a man is supposed to be. But you can only be what a man is supposed to be if you're with the right type of woman. And I'm sorry, but for as strict as women are being with men now, as much as we're being demanded of, then shit, I'm gonna tell y'all fellas, don't settle for nothing less than a Michelle Obama. Fuck that. Why? Like, why? And they're out here. They're out here. They may not be in the club, but they're out here. They may not be the ones doing twerk videos on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, but they're out here. They may not be the ones sliding in your DMs, but you don't want that type of woman. Those are the attention seekers. Those are the women who, just like they do it for you, they won't stop when they get in a relationship with you. The next guy can still send them a message, text them, ask for their number, and they're still going to do it because they have no respect for themselves, let alone for you in that relationship. So if you identify these types of women, I understand how hard it is, especially when you're young. If you think you love this person or you think you have feelings for this person, yo, family, run the other way, because this type of woman will never be what you, as a good man, who are gonna do great things in your life. You don't deserve to be held back by this type of woman. It's unfortunate that I have to get out here and do this. It's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? Especially, me being who I am. I'm all about love. I'm all about black love. But unfortunately, it just don't work for us as black men as often as it should. Too often we get pegged for being deadbeats. Too often we get pegged for being, illegitimate fathers. Too often we get pegged for being ain't shit and no good. And some of us are. Some of us are. But consider the source. A lot of it comes from women who they don't have the best intentions. And I don't want to see more men caught up in the family court system. I don't want to see more men caught up on child support for having a child with the wrong woman, or having to sacrifice their happiness and love in their relationships because they know how the system is set up against them, and they choose to stay and be a good father and stay and have the privilege, although it's a natural born right, to be with your children and have them live under the same roof as you. But it's treated as a privilege that can be taken away from men because that's the system, the country that we live in, unfortunately, in this day and age, where the mother is valued more than the father. And it's the women who have daddy issues for those fathers who aren't there because fathers aren't valued. Those are the women that we as good men are dealing with that we wish we didn't have to deal with. It ain't because of mommy issues. It's because of unresolved daddy issues, because that's how important fathers are to the family unit. But because we don't live in a system where that's valued, where we are valued, the good men are the men who try to stay and make it work. And oftentimes we are the ones who end up worse off because we are the ones who end up having the life force drained out of us by these women who are leeches. They're life force leeches. That's what we're going to call them. Life force leechers. Like, because You can't do anything with this type of woman. This type of woman will stand right in front of you and argue you down about a premise, about a principle, about a point that she's dead wrong on. And what the fuck can you do? Because if you say the wrong thing, or God forbid you react in a way where you do the wrong thing, now that's that woman's excuse to hold your children hostage over you. That's that woman's excuse to say you did something to her. That's that woman's excuse to say that you're just like the rest of them. And she's dead wrong. She's dead wrong. But because as good men, we know that we have to play. We have to play that system. We have to play, inside of that fucked up narrative that we know we're gonna be the ones painted as being the bad guys. And it's a shame. It's a goddamn shame. But it is what it is. And I do these long videos on this type of content because that's what this channel is built on. And I do these types of videos on this type of content because I know that there are men out here who were dealing with this because I dealt with it for years. You understand? But my focus is different now. And that's why I have to reach back. I have to be real. I have to put myself out here on this channel. I have to put, the things that I'm going through out there because if I don't, who will? We don't talk about this type of shit. And that's where there are so many breakdowns in relationships and communication, and so many people suffer in silence because not enough people are talking about this type of shit, the struggles in their relationships, the struggle. And I've been doing this shit from day one, right? I just saw Michelle Obama interviewing with Oprah, and they're like, "Yo, we can't believe that as a first lady, you're talking about the issues that you've had over the years in your marriage and the different things that you've had to work on, and the different problems that you have that people think that you just don't go through." And salute to her for being willing to do that because it's true. Not a lot of people in the public eye are willing to be that open and that vulnerable, and that's why Michelle Obama is a role model, for so many women, especially Black women. But for my fellas, for my fellow men, I've been talking about this shit since I was fucking in my teens. You see what I'm saying? But it's the type of content, like some of the commenters who talk about clickbait and shit like that. It's the type of content people aren't checking for, even though those are the same people going through it every day. I know. I know. I already know. That's why the people who rock with this channel, the people who rock with my content, that's why I respect y'all so much. That's why I salute to y'all so much because we're all going through this shit on some level, in some way, shape, or form, or we have gone through it at some point. But it's not cool to talk about. So people get on here and they do the ratchet videos, they do the prank videos, they do the funny stuff, they do the entertainment stuff, and that's cool. You gotta have balance. You gotta have something to distract you from all the real shit out here, or else the real shit will bury you and you will never be able to come up out of it. But we also gotta have these important conversations too. We also got to talk about the real shit that we're going through and the real shit that we're dealing with. And that's why this channel's here. That's why I will continue to do this. I don't care if I have 200 subscribers or 200,000. Because eventually, the people who are real, the people who understand the importance of shit like this, eventually those types of people will come through. Eventually, they will come across this channel and they will hear something that resonates with them so much that, they decide to stick around and become a part of this community. And that's why I do this. I do this for y'all. I promise. And I will always. So to my fellas, I understand you're in your early 20s, mid 20s, and it's just about having fun right now, you know, but look farther down the line. There should be a vision there. There should be an understanding there. And don't spend the best years of your youth. Don't 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 see your whole youth pass you by with a woman who is just there to drain the life force out of you and who's very good at playing the sympathy card and apologizing after the fact to try and make you feel bad after the fact. When you know deep down, this woman don't give a fuck about nothing but her feelings. Please try to avoid this type of woman because there's so many good women out there. It's too late for people like me, but it's not too late for you. It's not. I wish y'all the best. I wish you all the love and success and the happiness in your relationship endeavors. But please be more cognizant of who it is that you're sharing your time with and your body with, and who you're putting your life force into, and who you're impregnating, because you're tethered to these women for the rest of your life. And unfortunately, not enough of them are worth being tethered to. Please take my advice, because this is real shit. It's the realest shit. This is the realest blog I've ever done. And we got to start taking back our respect. Too many of us Black and Hispanic men have lost our respect from the women that are supposed to respect us the most. And they may say that it's our fault. They may try to blame us for certain things, and that's cool. My problem is we all have blame in it. And if and rather than grouping us all together, if we haven't lost respect for you, if you come across those good men who have that respect for you, enough respect to give you their last name, enough respect to understand the importance of sticking around and fathering their children, you don't disrespect that man. You don't disrespect a man like that. You don't be disloyal to a man like that. You share your life and everything with it with a man like that. You give that man the utmost loyalty. You give that man the utmost respect. That's what you're supposed to do. But we're not seeing that. And it's time for us fellas to start taking back that control. Because if you feel that you're not being respected, don't waste your time. It's not worth it. Hey yo, like, comment, and subscribe to the Social Forecast. Got a lot of content coming in 2019. Real shit like this. I continue to salute y'all all, because everybody who subscribes to this channel, y'all are like family. Y'all are part of my community. And we always gonna talk that real shit. And if you have something to say to me, you have a disagreement, you can hit me up in my comment section. You can hit me up at straighttalk315@gmail. You could get on here and do a live with me. You could do a debate with me. We can go head to head, or we could just chop it up and build for a few. I don't care, because y'all like family. I'm not talking about the trolls. I'm not talking about the people who leave negative comments just for the sake of leaving negative comments. I'm talking about the people who really rock with me on principle, not, you know, the people who have disagreements with me. That's fine. That's welcome. That's real life. You know what I'm saying? Because we only learn from our disagreements. That's how we will become better at relating and get closer to each other. It's because of those disagreements. But for the people who rock with me on principle, on the fact that I'm trying to do something that's not done often enough on these YouTube platforms. I'm trying to do something to bring people together that's found few and far in between, as far as these blogs go, as far as these YouTube channels go. So I appreciate anybody who rocks with me in that way, who understands that vision. So please, if you haven't already, I invite you to stay a while. So like the video, comment, subscribe, 100% subscribe. And you know what I'm saying? We're going to keep chopping it up. I see you on the next one. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Peace and love.